Okay, welcome to my new part of what I've been doing it for a while. I've been doing investing and stuff like that for a long time, but I've never recorded these videos. And the reason I'm doing this is I've just decided, look, there's people out there that are tired of living paycheck to paycheck, working. It's just tiring. So I'm doing this for the physicians out there, the nurses out there, my own children, and anybody else who's interested, Christian ministers, anybody else who's interested, because if some of the dividends, if some of our investments can replace some of our incomes, how much is that going to free us to be able to live a lifestyle for me that is can serve God, that can serve other people and serve people in my community. So however you decide to use that time, some people will travel, some people will but spend more time with family. So I've put together this spreadsheet, and you can see this on the screen here. There seems like there's a lot going on, but let me break it down for you. So this spreadsheet, I have what's called my income goal, and you can see that right here, which is $10,000. My current monthly living expenses for the amount that I'm investing is $3,800. That's how much that I would need to run our house and pay for all the expenses to run the house. My W 2 monthly income is $4,200. I can add an extra $6,000. That's my retirement account, money that I had been putting into retirement, or there's other things because I run my physician job as a business. So I was able to pull out some other expenses and pay myself. So this is all after tax money. After tax money. So that is one downside, but I think you'll see as we run through how beneficial this can be. Now, I had $18,000 that I had already saved that I had been putting into crypto and other things like that. And so these are the amounts that I'm starting with. I'm starting this plan in September of 2025, and this month is September 2025. This is important because the spreadsheet will be calculating things based on your plan start date and what month this is. Now, what I see is when I put this information in this calendar, I can come down here and I'll give me some what are called outputs. The outputs will tell me when am I making enough money that's over my living expenses. It's 21 months from now, May 2027. When is my income over my goal? It'll be September 2029, which is 50 months. So a little over 4 years, I should be making over $10,000 a month in dividends through these various investments. Now, in those months, I also have put down here what my portfolio value would be on those months. So in month 50, my portfolio value goal would be about $613,000. Of that, five 510,000 would have been my W2 income. So if I had just paid my expenses first and not used in this plan, I would have much less money. And I'll show that to you. But I'm basically putting $500,000, which is my entire income over the next 4 years, into this plan and investing it right up front. As part of that, I am going to be using margin to pay my living expenses during that time, which is going to create a debt. So during that time, I will be going into a margin debt, but the worst it'll be and compared to my investment portfolio. So let's say I have $100,000 in there, and my worst will be 18.75%, which means I will have $18,750 if my portfolio was $100,000. That would be a margin debt. And unfortunately, my margin debt is 12.5%. If you can get better percentage, you can see that you will get a better rate. So I can change this here, and you can see that it shortened my month by 1 month, but it didn't change my worst margin debt significantly. So the interesting thing is when I use this just for living expenses, it doesn't change the amounts hugely. What really impacts it is how much you can save. So, for example, if I had no extra money, you can see that, look, it would take me 62 months, 5 years to be over my living expenses. But that's still not bad. I mean, that's $400 difference than of what I could save over what my monthly living expenses are. But the big change is my portfolio value, of course, W-2 income and my portfolio value is much different down here. The other issue is my margin as a percentage of my investment goes up significantly. It is over the 50%. This threshold, see it turned red. It changed that here. I don't want to completely go through the spreadsheet. I want to show you what I'm doing. If anybody else is interested, I can show you how to use the spreadsheet to put together your own plan. But so this is my plan. So this is my plan of how much I am saving. This is when I'll be out of my worst margin debt, and that is shown over on this page 2. So on page 2, these are all the calculations of everything that's going on. And if you scroll over and you look at the margin debt as a percent of portfolio, you can see that it is in month. What month is this? Let's highlight number 11. It's in month 9, which is actually shown on the overview page. It tells you what month it is. But it's still pretty early in the plan. My net portfolio value at that point is right around $100,000, which is about what I kind of estimated. 125,000 is my overall portfolio amount. But because I have margin debt, it'll be about $23,000 of margin debt there. The interesting thing is that you can see the next month, my margin debt continues to rise, but as a percentage of my portfolio, it's actually starting to drop because my portfolio is getting larger and larger. And it gets all the way down to where it gets the worst, which is right about here. You can see that this excess income, this is when it flips. This is when I start to actually no longer accumulate margin debt, but now I'm actually paying down my margin. And you can see that here when we come back over, that the worst margin debt is May 2026, and I actually pay off my margin in 2029, which is right or before, a little bit before I reach my income goal. So a few months before I reach my income goal of 50 months, my margin will be paid off. So I won't actually have any more margin debt. Everything will be free and clear income, which is why it's awesome that on month 50, my portfolio value will be um, 613,000. My portfolio should be about that amount. And the income on that month will be $10,127 estimated, right? This is a plan. We don't know what the market's going to do and the fluctuations, but this is the plan. And this is what we are monitoring. And I have a tab to monitor this amount and how well off my goal and whether I'm meeting my goal. And so I have that on this page, which will probably be updated and improved as I pull everything through. Now, this is all predicated on your investments, right? Of what you're doing. So this is the plan. These are the outputs of what this plan will be doing. So we will follow along. I'm basically just starting this plan. Now, you can run this without putting a portfolio together. For example, you could run this with default numbers, and this will give you an estimate of when things will run. You can see when I check this box, it'll now use these defaults over here, which means 100% is going into income investments. I have nothing going into DRIP. DRIP are dividend reinvestments. And the amount of yield is about the same. The only difference is I switched my income, but you can see the outputs change. Look down here. The over living expenses dropped to 16 months. My income over goal, over the amount, drops to 42 months. So it changes if I did not DRIP or dividend reinvest. Just doing that changed the outcome. All right, but that's not my plan right now. This is my plan of what I have and what I'm investing. Now, If you're looking at my portfolio, I have a page for that. And that is over here. And you can see that these are the amounts that these are the positions that I have, uh, the large cap US ones. I'm allocating 30% to US large cap. And under the 30%, each of these are a certain percentage of this basket of US large cap, which gives them each a portfolio percentage. So T SPY will be 4.5%, XDTE will be 3%, XPay 4.5%, ULTY is only 1.5%. And I can go through and change these amounts and get rid of them. Let's say after a while, saying, I really don't want to be in any Alti. But just a little small percentage, with that large yield, it changes things. So, for example, if I come over here to my income, my monthly income, it's way over here, at 5,600. You can see that Alti, just with that small amount, is giving me about $300 a month of dividend income. That's pretty darn good for such a small position size of only 1.5%. You can see something else that has 4.5% of my portfolio is giving me 375. Um, that's YMAX. Let's go up to XPay, which is 4.5% on line 9. And that one's giving me 225. So Alti, with a very small portfolio percentage, is giving me more income than XPay. I just think Alti is more risky. I could get a lot more income if I put more Alti, but I don't want to. I diversify and asset allocate based on a lot of different issues. So these are usually large US large cap. I also have 30% into technology. So those are crypto funds, chips. WPay is a wide basket. And these also have all different strategies. And so then I put through, here's commodities. So this is Bitcoin. This is natural gas or natural resources. Here's, of course, gold, silver. Still considering Ethereum. So I have that as a very small percentage. I have not put any into it yet. We'll see. Real estate, 5%. I still have bonds of 10%. So those are high yield bonds. International, 5%. US small cap. And then I have growth funds down here if I so desired. So this is my portfolio that then pulls over here and it puts its percentages in here, and it'll separate the percentages based on whether it's a drip or income investments. And it separates them by drip. If you go here, you see how it says reinvest drip allocation. I could change this and say, oh, I'm going to drip Alti. Okay. Well, that increases this allocation to 15.5%, but it also comes over here and look at that. My drip percentage now goes up to 32.5 and my income investment drops to 22%. So it significantly impacts both of those, and it impacts my plan. It actually delays my plan by a month. So I am not going to drip Alti, but you can play around with these things and see, hey, what happens if I drip more of this one and if I drip these? So there's certain ones that I'm dripping, dividend reinvestment, and that is going to be CLM and CRF. So this is my plan. This is what I'm going to be doing. Now, there's one more interesting wrinkle that I have built into this that is different than what I've seen on other plans. When I go up to my monitoring position, so this is tab 4 down here on the bottom, I look at what I'm investing in. So here's my T-SPY, my XDTE, and here's this Alti one, right? The one we've been talking about. If you look at the priority, you have to build up a position in each one of these. So one of the possibilities is I could invest equal amounts in all of them. Every single month, I could invest equal amount. Well, that's fine if you want to do that. But as you can see, I have quite a few different positions. I have numerous positions down here. If I had to invest in each one of these each month, it could get taxing and time consuming, and the amounts that I might put into each one of those would go down significantly. And that's fine if you want to do that, but I decided that I actually want to prioritize which ones I'm putting into first. And I've prioritized that I'm going to prioritize 8 positions. And I designated them with the number 1 over here on the side. These are positions 3, this one's 2. So Alti is actually position 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prioritize these 8 funds first, and I'm going to put in large amounts in each one of these. Now, the beauty of this is that one, it simplifies each month. I don't have to buy as many funds. That is that would be very challenging. Now, if you did something like M1 Finance, this would be easy because M1 makes it easy, but it's not easy at many other brokerages. So I'm prioritizing it. Now, when that happens, my estimated yield is 20.36 based on these funds, and my income when I build it all up will be about 8,882. And I need about 55,000 to get finish this stage. But when I move on to priority number 2, boom, it switches it over. I have 10 positions in stage number 2. And my estimated yield has jumped to 27%. So I'm really going to have some income high flyers in stage 2 because that includes Alti and YMAX and things like that. But it helps me build up positions in other ones first. So I really like that. And I have stage 3, right? So this one jumps over here. So this is where I prioritize a little bit more stable funds that don't pay as much. I'm also prioritizing my bonds at that stage. So stage 3, I'm going to be putting a lot of money into bonds, which are a little bit more stable and don't move quite as much. And then, of course, I have stage 4, and there's 10 funds there. I try to equalize the dollar amounts. So they don't always look equal. Like this stage doesn't have as much dollar amount because I've already been buying into this stage. So there's not as much in this stage. So that is what I will be doing. I also designate whether they're weekly pays. So I try to prioritize a lot of my weekly pays early because I like weekly pays, but I also try to diversify a little bit. Look, I only have 2 going into large cap, 3 going into technology, and I have 3 going into commodities because I think gold's going to do well. Bitcoin's just volatile. It'll jump around, so I'm going to prioritize that early. So that's something really interesting that I have going on in this spreadsheet that I'm really, really excited about. So all of that to say, this is my plan. This is when I hope to be um, income over my living expenses, and this is when I hope to be income free or independent living free. This is just a part of my budget. My budget's actually much more complex than this. Um, my wife gets paid separately. I have bills that are due from the business side that pay for like health insurance. So there's other areas that I still have to build up. But this is just my core. Like if everything fell apart, what do we need to live on? This would require, so if I had to cancel health insurance, well, I have to cancel health insurance, but I could still live month to month. If there's some other debts, that those are also include like charity and things like that. So anyways, like I said, budget complicated. This is the plan. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited to catalog this journey for friends, family, and children, people who want to get out of the rat race. I've tried a lot of different things. This is probably the most excited I've been in a long, long time. So God bless. Peace, everyone. And I will see you next time.